Good evening, everybody. I hope you're well. Small crumbs of comfort. That is my head tonight. England finally got back on the winning trail with a victory over the Netherlands. We've got a competition running. If you would like to win some 2005 beer mats, there is Jones, Bell's, Vaughan's. There's all different ones. They're all in your different beer styles. I think Gov might share it on the screen. If he doesn't, if you go over to, there you go. Look, head over to my Twitter and you do the following. Follow at One Talking Cricket. Follow at Balls Bats Beer. Give them a follow. Retweet the tweet. And yeah, put you in the hat for the competition, which closes on Sunday night at midnight. I think we've got about 20 people in there so far. But yeah, just if you fancy winning some beer mats, the following things to do there. You don't get a lot for free, so there's only 20 in it so far. So get yourself in the competition. Follow the Twitter page. Follow Balls, Bats, and Beer, and then retweet. Anyway. Tonight, I am. It's just a two-man show tonight. Kieran's coming in all the way from Melbourne. He's at work. He's on the train. Good evening. Good morning. How are you, mate?
Good, Rich. Yourself, mate?
Yeah, I'm not bad. I'm absolutely buzzing. A victory over the Netherlands. I know it's not to be sniffed at with this World Cup that we've had, mate. But we will start tonight. By the way, if you're watching the show live, hit the like button. Smash the subscribe. We've hit 5,000 subscribers on the channel, which is excellent, but we need more. Right, we will start with controversy. It was just a meaningless sort of game, Kieran, between Sri Lanka and Bangladesh, meandering along the other day, and then all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose. So I don't know if everybody's seen it. So Angelo Matthews makes his way to the middle. So I see in the World Cup, Kieran, it's 2 minutes you have.
Yep.
Whereas in first class cricket, I think it's 3. So he's making his way to the crease, and there he is, ready to. Well, he's not even taking guard. Goes to put his helmet on, Kieran, and then his chin strap breaks, doesn't it?
Yeah. So it's 2 minutes to face a ball, not to be out in the centre.
That's it. So he reckons. I think he tweeted. They've timed it. He had 5 seconds to spare. So I think where it's broken down a little bit is he doesn't really ask permission from the umpire, does he? He just sort of takes it on himself to call out the 12th man to bring another helmet. I think that's where we're at. So obviously Shakib, the captain, I think one of his teammates says we should appeal. So they've appealed. I think it was Erasmus, the umpire. They said to him, do you want to withdraw it? He said no. And he was given out. So... Right, so I think in this World Cup as well, you don't have to wear a helmet. I think that's another rule. So I think there was, a couple of balls left in the over, possibly?
Yeah.
He could quite have easily faced the 2 balls, couldn't he? And then called on the 12th man, got his helmet. Because I think in cricket, sometimes it does need a little bit of a hurry up, Kieran, because it's sort of, we talked about this in the Ashes, the overrate, and people are strolling on and 12th man running on with towels and drinks and gloves. What are your thoughts on it? I'll give you mine after I'll get yours.
Yeah, look, I think it was a bit naive by Matthews and perhaps a bit presumptuous. Like you said, all he had to do, and it's still meant to be a bit of a gentleman's sport, is you just ask the umpire's permission. Say, look, my chin strap's broken. Can I just quickly get another helmet? Or I'm sure the umpire, if they were aware of the 2-minute rule, would have said, well, you've only got 15 seconds to face a ball or whatever it might be. And I'm sure if that had been the case, he would have faced up for 1 ball and then called out the helmet. It was only a sort of slow left armour bowling at the time, I think. So it's not like he was facing 140 an hour rockets where he'd need a helmet. So, look, I think the fault initially lies with Matthews. As far as being a captain and appealing against it and then upholding your appeal, probably not what I would do, which I guess a bit controversial
Oh,
moment. But yeah, no, I think that's a bit. Look, it's within the laws, isn't it? It's within the rules, but I think that's pushing it a little bit. Good opportunity if you are going to appeal, just to maybe put it in the back of the batsman's mind, but then withdraw it, sort of say, look, that if we get stung for slow over rate, that's why. Oh, are you on mute, mate?
can you hear me?
Yep, got you now.
Right. Matthews, he didn't do the post-match press, so just got some comments he's posted. He says, I hadn't done anything wrong. I have 2 minutes to get to the crease and get myself ready, which I did. And then it was an equipment malfunction. I don't know where the common sense went, which I think it's a little bit common sense from him. I think he's a little bit taking a little bit of a liberty.
Yeah.
But I also think maybe, look, I know it's the umpire. The umpires can't really do anything, Kieran, because that is the rules. If they appeal, they say, do you want to withdraw it? They say no. This is what happens. So Shakib has said there will be debates. One of our fielders came to me and said, if you appeal now, it'll be out. I appealed and the umpire asked me if I was serious, whether I'd take it back or not. I said no. If it's in the rules, then it is out. And that is exactly what happens. It is in the laws. I don't know if it is right or wrong, but I feel like I was at war. So I had to take a decision to make sure my team wins. So whatever I needed to do, I had to do it. So basically, he's saying he would do anything to win a game of cricket, which I think, Kieran, is a little bit poor, if I'm being quite honest.
Yeah. You've got to be careful, I suppose, with your comments in a situation like that, if you're the captain or if you're just, I guess, any player afterwards, because to say, as you said, you'd do anything to win a game of cricket sort of leans towards suggestions that you might, I don't know, take some sandpaper out on the ground or...
Well...
let's not go there. But yeah, you know what I'm saying there. But
yeah, it's a little bit like so now with the Mankad, which is, I think that is well within the rules. Now I think there's a couple of times, I think it was the start of the tournament when Mitchell Starc running. I think it might have been against Sri Lanka, and he warned them, which fair enough. There's nothing in the rules say you can't do that, and there's nothing in the rules. This is obviously the first time it's happened in international cricket, and I think it was I think Ian shared it on the WhatsApp group. The times it had happened, people being timed out. I think there was Vasbert Drakes. He was on a plane. There was all manner of sort of players who've been given out timed out, but quite funny excuses. Whereas this, he's on the field. I think a little bit of common sense needs to prevail. And then we get the end of the game. Obviously, the Sri Lankans were still upset, Kieran. They didn't shake hands with Bangladesh. So that was the end of that. But shall we have some Australia chat? Your boys are flying now. You're into the semis. You obviously we'll talk about the game against England first before we come on to the Afghanistan and Maxwell's unbelievable innings. Was it the best ever one-day innings I've read today? So go back to, I think it was Saturday we played you, didn't we? England win the toss again. I don't know why we keep putting teams in. Aussie 2-8-6 all out. But you had a couple of notable absentees. Obviously, Mitchell Marsh had gone home. I think his granddad had passed away.
Unexpectedly.
Talk to me about Glenn Maxwell falling off the back of a golf cart.
Well, I wasn't there. I didn't see it. The rumours are that maybe the Aussie boys had a few beers.
It was a bit downtime, they said. They're having a bit of downtime, Kieran.
Yeah, a bit of blowing off some steam was a quote that came out, and then after the fact, it was "boys will be boys." So I think if you read between the lines, maybe he'd had a few drinks. I believe he was riding in the back of the golf cart where you strap your clubs in, and I'm not sure how it's happened, but he's taken a tumble out of there, and obviously cracked his head, which.
Dangerous game golf. We had Johnny Westwood breaking his ankle. when he fell up the side of the tee. And now we've got Glenn Maxwell falling off the back of a golf buggy and getting concussion.
Yes, well, I was a bit critical of him in the chat. I thought it was a bit unprofessional mid-tournament, but if you follow it up with the greatest one-day knock of all time, maybe the Poms should get out in the piss and play golf. You might score some runs.
Well, so yeah, you were put into bat and you scored 286. So Marnus got 71. Cam Green, he was back in the team, obviously.
Yep.
47. Smith got 44. Stoinis 39. Crucial innings at the end. I think it was Zampa 29 in about 19 balls. I think him and Stark put on a few, didn't they? I think you were at 240 for 8, and then you got yourself up to 286, which obviously proved in the end, Kieran, to be too many for England. Yeah,
fine margins, isn't it? The shorter the game, I guess, the greater impact individual performances have. So, yeah, just little things like Zampa's knock at the end, that extra 20-odd runs. I think the top order, the openers didn't really fire that day, but one thing the Aussies have had throughout the tournament is just about every innings they've had somebody stand up, and the rest of the team can bat around them. So we haven't really relied on one particular player or one particular partnership. We've got runs now all through the top 5, which we probably didn't have at the start of the tournament. But batsmen starting to do all right, and then if your tail can chip in with 15, 20 quick fire runs, it makes a big difference.
Yeah, it obviously turns the tide a bit. Look, when you go off, I suppose England are a little bit down. You think you could have probably bowled them out for maybe 255, 260. You've got a little bit too many, and then it helps when your opener Johnny Bairstow gets strangled down the leg side first ball. Yeah,
that's a stiff way to go out, isn't it?
Well, good catch. It was a good catch.
Good catch. Yeah. Should have flicked it down to fine leg for 4, but them's the breaks. And when it's going your way, you get them away for 4. When it's not going your way, that's what happens, isn't it?
Yeah, I think Johnny. I think it was John on the WhatsApp group put on there today. It might be tweeted. I think he's got 158 runs in, I think 8 innings. And you would have thought going into the tournament, he's probably one of your standout players, and he's not performed along with a lot of the other ones. But obviously, Stokes got. Go on.
He got 45 or so in the opening game too, didn't he? So
yeah. So he's got just over 100 runs in 7 innings, which is a pretty poor return. But he's not the only one. But in the end, Zampa starred, didn't he? He got 3 for 21 off 10. That is very un-England-like. I mean, under Owen Morgan, there's no way you'd let the opposition main spinner bowl 3 overs and go just over 2 and over.
No,
he's had a good tournament, Zampa, because he came.
I think he's leading wicket taker now.
Yeah. Yeah, he come in, didn't he, after the South Africa series? He got a bit of tap out there, but he's come in and he got a good catch as well. So it was sort of his day, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, hats off to him. He's been really good, Zampa. Usually you find opposition try to target him, and he can go for a little bit of tap. I think that's probably with most spinners. The opposition like to go after them early. All through the tournament, he's been really consistent. As I said, leading wicket taker, taking plenty of wickets, but 21 off your 10 overs as well. And what's proved to be pretty batsman-friendly conditions throughout the tournament.
Shall we get on to the game yesterday then? I was watching it before I was on my way to football, and I was watching it on the way. So obviously Afghanistan scored 291 for 5, good score. And then they've reduced you to 91 for 7, and for all money, it's looking like they're going to move into the top 4. They would have gone on to, that would have been 5 wins if they'd have. Look, they've had a great tournament, Afghanistan. They're probably disappointed that they've lost that game yesterday when they're in a real strong position. But I think Trott's done a really good job there. They've chased down, I think, 3 out of the 4 games. They've had to chase totals and they've won them quite comfortably. But the old adage, catches win matches. I think Maxwell's on 33. I think he sweeps to Majee, but short fine leg. It's an absolute dolly. He's dropped the catch, and then from there, look, the rest is history. I mean, Glenn Maxwell, does he divide opinion back in Australia, Kieran?
Yeah, I guess he does. Yeah, you either love him or you get frustrated by him, I think. I'm probably in the latter. I get frustrated by him because it's obviously undeniable talent, but just you saw earlier in the tournament, maybe against South Africa, possibly. I'm not sure. It was one of the earlier games. He came in at 3. We'd had quite a strong start. He came in at 3 and first ball hit it, straight up in the air. Tried to hit it out of the ground, and it was 3 foot outside off stump, and he just opened the front leg, and it was just a ridiculous shot. And stuff like that frustrates you, but like that's now the fastest one-day century, and the incredible 200 now. So the ability's there.
Oh yeah, he's got all the ability in the world. Has he made the most of his talents though? Because he's obviously played a little bit of Test cricket. I think he's averaging. I think they put up the stats yesterday, 35 in white ball cricket, 50 overs. He's decent with the ball. He's great in the field, but he's always, to me, it seems he could have done a little bit more. I think with his talent.
Yeah, I think so. I think sometimes you get carried away with your own reputation. Like he's got the reputation that he'll come out from the first ball and hit everything out of the ground. And sometimes you just...
Sorry, I was just getting something on my phone. I was trying to get something up about Maxwell. Keep going.
That's right. Yeah, sometimes you believe that, and not every game and not every situation requires that of you. There are going to be games where you come in like it's 7 for 90, where you need to knuckle down and get yourself in before you get going, sort of thing.
Was it a little bit of a freebie? That was a little bit of a freebie yesterday. It was one of them innings where you could hit 40 or 50 and then you're probably going to get out. But it was just he was on from his 100. I think he was on literally no legs, was he? He could hardly move. He was cramping up. I don't know if they bowled great, if I'm being honest. They just bowled it. A lot of them balls, Kieran, were in the slot, and he was just pumping them over the fence for 6.
Well, I'm still amazed at international level with the T20 influence that bowlers can't come in and bowl 6 balls on the like Yorker length and just deny batsmen the ability to get under them. And I would have thought, and obviously I'm not a coach, I'm not elite level sportsman, but if you're getting hit out of the park every second ball, if you just bowl as full as you can and hit that spot where they can't get under you, at least you're going to cut 6s out of the game.
Yeah, and he could hardly run, could he? There was a lot of them singles he was turning. There was a lot that were going to be 2s. I think at the end there, when they needed about 30 or 40, he'd run, I think, about 3 singles. He could hardly move. But look, you have to give Pat Cummins credit. I know he only scored 12 not out off about 68 balls. You put on 202, and he scored 12. But without him, the game is over. There was an interesting one. I think it was an LBW, was it, against Maxwell, was turned over. He was on his way halfway to the pavilion. I think Zampa was nearly ready to come out. Yeah, that got turned over, and then sort of after that, it was just like it was clean it in. It was like one of them innings, Kieran, where you think, is it the greatest double 100 in 50 over World Cup cricket? And you probably is. I think Chris Gale's got a double 100. I think Guptill, they said, for New Zealand's got a double 100. But this is the position they were in. I think you have to say this is probably the best when you're in 91 for 7. You're needing over 200 to win.
In the circumstances, I'd say so. I'm not sure whether Gale and Guptills were chasing or batting first as well. So there's the added pressure of having a target to chase. It's hard, isn't it? Different sorts of batsmen. Maxwell, very creative, hits a lot of flat bat, cross bat. Gale was just a brute. I did love watching Martin Guptill bat. I thought he's a real classical sort of batsman that had the ability to obviously go large. I did like watching him going when he was going. But yeah, I think when you combine factors like 7 for 90, chasing a score, World Cup, not just a meaningless ODI. Put in all those factors. Yeah, it's got to be pretty close.
So I've got the table up here. Obviously, India at top 16. They're now onto top spot. So it looks as though from here, it's Australia, South Africa semi-finals. You've both got 12 points. And then we go down to New Zealand. New Zealand, Pakistan, Afghanistan all on 8. It's going to come down to run rate there. I think New Zealand are looking the favourites at the minute. They play Sri Lanka tomorrow. Afghanistan, South Africa Friday, and then Pakistan finished against England on Saturday. So I'd say the Kiwis are probably favourites there, Kieran. Do you think to make the top 4?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. Pakis have got a easy run in, but yeah, I think New Zealand will make it. They started strong. They've just sort of fizzled a little bit towards the end, but India are going to be hard to beat, aren't they?
What did you think to the game? I've got down here against Pakistan. So the Kiwis scored up, was it 403? I think 404. Pakistan had rain, so they're 200 for 1 off 25 overs, and they win on Duckworth Lewis. Now, for me, look, Duckworth Lewis, I'm not sure how they work it out, but that's still a lot of runs for them to get in 25 overs, and you've only got to put a couple of wickets onto that score, and they're going to struggle to get that. I scratched my head a little bit when they said Pakistan had won on Duckworth Lewis, and I thought, blimey, that's a little bit of a stretch to say when you still got to double your score.
Yeah, it's stiff making 400 and not winning, because I'd like to see the stats on how many times the team's made 400 batting first and it's been chased down. So I wouldn't have thought that it happened.
I think your boys were one of the first when you it was in South Africa that one day when he scored. Was it 430?
Yeah. I
remember watching that.
It's going back a while, and
yeah.
Ponting was captain then. Apparently they walked off the ground and everyone had their heads down, and punter stood up and said, "I reckon they're about 15 runs short, boys," and everyone had a laugh, and the rest is history.
I think that was in Cape Town. I think because the air's thinner there and the ball obviously travels further. I remember watching that thinking, this is unbelievable. But yeah, you're probably right there. There's not many teams, especially in a World Cup. I think that's probably would be one of the first teams that would have that chased down. I'll tell you what I like for New Zealand, Ravindra. I think that was his 3rd century, I think, of the tournament. He's sort of...
Yeah, I'd never heard of him before the tournament.
No. Yeah. He played in the series against England over here. And he batted down the order a little bit, bowled a bit of spin. But yeah, that's tomorrow. So yeah, India looking good, Kieran. They hammered Sri Lanka, bowled them out for 55 again. Hammered South Africa on Sunday by 243. Virat Kohli equalled Tendulkar's record of one-day centuries, 49. And they did say, I think it's about 223-ish innings he's had.
Yeah,
to make 49, and I think Tendulkar was in the 400, so he's obviously gonna go past him. And I've said on here, I think if you look India, like the batting, look at the 3 seamers they've got. I mean, Shami, Bumrah, and Siraj. Jadeja took 5, but you never know, do you? When it comes to a semi or a final, like I think last time when they played the Kiwis over here and they come unstuck. You never know on the day. You get a little bit of luck, but I do think it looks like New Zealand will play them. I think New Zealand have got to play probably above their maximum, and India have got to have a day off, because I can't see it. I think it's looking like, I don't know what you think. I think it's going to be an India-Australia final.
I said from the start, I thought South Africa were a dark horse. I know India wrapped them up pretty comfortably the other day, but they've been pretty strong throughout. So yeah, I think India obviously going to be very tough to beat, but I would have thought maybe they'd have one loss at some stage in the tournament. They haven't had it yet. It's hard to go through. Yeah, it's hard to go through any tournament or any season or whatever the sport is undefeated, and stay on top of your game throughout. So yeah, they'll be hoping that doesn't come obviously in the finals. But yeah, I think New Zealand will find it hard. Williamson's still out, isn't he, with his thumb?
No, he was back. He was back in the Pakistan game. I think
Oh, was it?
he got a 90, about 94,
Oh,
and he was out. So he's back in, which
yep.
is obviously good for them. They're a little bit short on the bowling. I think Matt Henry's out. I think he's done a hamstring. I think they called up Jameson, but look, they've got to get there first. They've got to beat Sri Lanka tomorrow, and then it's going to be interesting because obviously the Pakistan-England game, Kieran, Pakistan will know what they need to do to topple New Zealand if the Kiwis beat Sri Lanka, and it's going to come down to run rate. They're probably going to have to a big victory, like they're going to have to bowl out England quick, or they're probably going to have to knock the runs or whatever. England say England bat first, they're going to have to get them in. I don't know how many overs, but look, it's interesting. I know it's not been the greatest World Cup, has it? I think you got a message the other day, didn't you, in the WhatsApp group?
Yeah, there hasn't been too many. Like, was there about 46 games? There's only be a handful that have been close.
Yeah.
Been a couple of 300-run victories, which isn't great. So, and seeing teams like Sri Lanka was at 59 the other day. There's been a couple. South Africa bowled out double figures. Well, granted that they have been batting pretty well.
The last two times Sri Lanka have played India, and the Asia Cup, Kieran, they bowled out for 50, and then they were 55 all out the other day. They were actually in danger of, I think they said Canada had got the lowest score. I think it was 36 all out, and they were 29 for 8. So they've done well to actually get to 55 there, haven't they, really?
Yeah, well, I watched the highlights because over here in Australia, the games start sort of about 7:30 at night, and so they go all through the night. So it's hard to watch the full games, obviously, with my work in the mornings too. But watch the highlights, and it looked like a different conditions when India were bowling to Sri Lanka. That ball was bloody unplayable, but still there were some pretty poor shots as well.
Yeah, so we'll come on to now. We'll end with talking about England and their victory because we haven't had many, so we might as well dine out on it a little bit, mate. You did comment when I said we'll chat about this. David Willey, so announced his retirement from one-day cricket. It wasn't really a surprise to me after the contract debacle. I did read that they were told, Kieran, at Lords before they left that who would be getting the contracts and who wouldn't. So I'm trying to put myself in his shoes when you're getting on that plane and everyone else, the other 14 players in that squad, they've all got either 3, 2 or 1 year contracts like Stokes has. You're getting on that plane to play in he didn't play in 2019 because he was obviously out because Archer got called in, and this is probably the highlight of his career. Now, for me, it's got to be a little bit tainted, isn't it, when he's hasn't even stepped on the field.
No, exactly. It's pretty poor man management. I'm not sure where the Poms are off after the World Cup, but you'd think maybe those sort of announcements you'd hold off until after the tournament.
To West Indies. They've got West Indies in December. They play some ODIs out there.
Yeah, but like he seems like an all right fella, Willie.
Yeah.
Popular around the dressing room, I imagine. So not just affecting him, you'd think affecting the rest of the team, the morale in there. When you hear regardless of whether it was before or like we heard over here, the announcement was mid-tournament that he wouldn't be getting the contract. Like,
that's when they announced it when it came out in the media. But the players knew before they got on the plane. So look, it's not surprising really that he's retired because you think you would, wouldn't you? Because it's interesting that, and also about the contracts, because this is the end of this team as a white ball team, and they've been great over the last probably 8 years since the World Cup down in Australia in 2015 when they had a total rebuild. But they're giving these players like 3-year contracts and 2-year contracts when now I know there's a 2020 World Cup. I think it's next June, isn't it, Kieran, in the Windies, and I think that's in the States. Some of this team may be playing that, but the majority of this team, they're finished as white ball cricketers for England.
you'd think you've got 12 months now till the 2020 tournament, and then another 4 years till the next ODI tournament, if they continue with 50 over cricket. But now's a chance to start blooding some people, isn't it? Bring some new blood in, give them, I don't know how many ODIs you play in 4 years, 40,
Well, it was less.
50.
Yeah, it was obviously less. I think in 19, between 15 and 19, they played over 80, and then this last 4 years, they've only played probably about mid-40s. But I think that's not just England. That's not to say that's an excuse. I think 50 over cricket all around the world is they don't play so many games as before, do they? So, but yeah, look, it'd be interesting to see going forward who they do pick for. Obviously, when they go to the West Indies, Kieran, I think England will be much changed. It's probably time for another show to talk about Buttler's future. I'll just get you. What's the Australian view on sort of Matthew Mott? Because he's done really well for your women's team, didn't he? He's come in for England. He's obviously got a 2020 World Cup. They won in Australia, which was fair enough. But what's your thoughts on him? Because as far as I'm concerned, I know a lot of people say he has to go because this has been a disaster. I think personally for me, I think he stays. And the reason why, because I think it'll be his chance, whoever the captain is. Butler might say, right, I'm going to give away 50 overs. I'll just concentrate on T20. So he might be captain in that. But I think it'll give Mott his chance to put his sort of stamp on the squad, because this is still basically the team that won the World Cup under Morgan and Trevor Bayliss, isn't it, really, when you think of it?
Yeah. He's obviously got pedigree behind him. You judged on your results a little bit. I do understand what you're saying in terms of, and I don't know how much input he has into what contracts are offered or whether it's separate with ECB. But like you said, he's got 12 months now to, if he does stay on, to try and mould his own team, bring some new blood through.
Is it always in sport, though? There has to be a fall guy.
And it's usually the manager, isn't it?
Yeah, it probably is when you say that, because look, this has been a disaster. I don't think anybody would have selected a different squad going out there. Maybe Jason Roy could have been picked, but he wasn't. So this is the best bunch of players, Kieran, that we've got. And to go out there and only beat Bangladesh and the Netherlands today, we can say, we need to win that game because they want to qualify for the Champions Trophy. I get that. And that's probably an important tournament. You do need to get there, because if you're bringing in some new players, that'll be a building block for the next World Cup. Good experience for whoever the players are. But it's been a disaster. I thought semi-finals. I didn't think England would win it. Yeah. Sort of because where they're playing, the conditions. I thought if we got to the semis, I thought that would be a really good achievement. But to fail the way they have, you must be loving it.
But like you said, the manager tends to be the fall guy, but you look on paper, like Bairstow's a good cricketer, has been for a long time. Milan actually hasn't been in too bad a form.
He's done all right.
Root's world class. Harry Brook took us apart in the Ashes, but hasn't been able to translate that over to white ball cricket. Butler, I know his captaincy hasn't been great, but he's still a good cricketer.
Yeah, I think if you look at let's just look at him in isolation. I mean, the shot he played against Australia, I think Zampa was bowling. I think he's dismissed him quite a few times in white ball cricket, but I think he looks to me, he's obviously not got the runs he should have done, but he's got the weight of the world on his shoulders. He goes out there and I don't know what his thinking is when he's played another poor shot today, and I think he got caught at mid-off. It must be hard, Kieran, because he knows that there's going to be a lot of talk of his captaincy and if he keeps it or not. And Josh Butler's one of the best white ball players in the world. Yeah, but he's had a shocker of a tournament, hasn't he, with bat? Yeah,
captaincy's easy when things are going well, and it's bloody tough when it's not. You think of the great Australian sides where Ricky Ponting was captain, and what a great captain he is, but you have a look at the team he had behind him where they just won everything, and I'm sure he was an excellent captain and an excellent leader, but it does make things easy. We spoke in the Ashes about Pat Cummins' captaincy when things weren't going well for Australia, and it looked like he had the weight of the world on his shoulders, and so I guess the same thing could be said for Butler. It's it's not gone well for him. It's not gone well for the team, and the mental toll that takes. And the shot he played against Australia just looked like the kind of shot from a player whose head was gone.
Yeah.
And look, it's understandable. Having captained teams before, I'm certainly not going to criticise him, because it is hard when things aren't going your way to pick up the pieces time and time again and try to lead from the front. But yeah, he's got the weight of the world and the eyes of the world on him at the moment, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think when you interview him, he obviously he knows that people are speaking about him. But I think sometimes the captain's having a bad time, Kieran, but the other players do need to stand up, and they haven't done it. It's just been across the board. We probably will look at the number of runs and that, and probably the next show, because that'll be when England's tournament's over. We'll have a quick look before we close today, and look at England today. Obviously, the Netherlands world, a bit of a superpower in obviously international cricket, and Kieran, it's a big scalp to get.
Wow. This is going to be the battle for Europe's top cricket team.
Well, they're gone bottom of the table now, the Netherlands. They've got 4 points from 8 games. So England, obviously, 339 for one. I literally, because I got back from football late last night, so I had a bit of a lay-in. Popped on the telly. Joe Root had just played that scoop where it went through his legs and nutmegged him. I'd literally turned on the telly for 10 minutes, and then Milan decides to run himself out. And then within about another 20 minutes, we've gone from about 130 for 1 and cruising and thinking, yeah, this is great, to about 170 for 5. And I'm thinking, blimey, this is not good. But then Ben Stokes stood up. That was his first World Cup 100 today, 108. Obviously, Milan got 87. Chris Wokes, 51 with a bat. And I think when I see that total, Kieran, England 339 for 9, that was pretty much the job done then, wasn't it? I didn't really think the Netherlands were going to chase that down.
No, the Netherlands aren't going to chase a 300-plus score down. Root's shot, I know he's copying a lot of stick for it. We spoke before the show. I don't see anything wrong with it. He was launching, has done for quite a while now, launching those for 6 over fine third man. We kept waiting during the Ashes for him to get knocked over doing it, and he just kept hitting him. If it's your go-to shot, you go to it. And
I always remember I went to Edgbaston, I think it was day 4. And he done it to Pat Cummins, first ball of the day, and everyone was like, blimey. Yeah. If it's one of your go-to shots and you are strong and you score a lot of runs from it, you're going to keep doing it. And look, you probably will be made to look a bit silly now and again, Kieran, because you're going to probably get out. And it wasn't great. It's nutmegged him. It's gone straight through his legs, and you'll probably see that replayed over and over again. But it was just one of them things. But yeah, Netherlands 179 all out. I think it was the lowest power play score they said today. I think they scored about 23 for 2. Moeen Ali got 3. Rashid got 3. Willie got a couple. So it was a good win. It's took England up to 7th, where they need to finish to make the Champions Trophy. I'd expect them to finish probably there now, Kieran, when you've got Bangladesh. I think they play you. That's your last game on Saturday, so I'd expect you to roll them over. Shakib's out. He's got a broken hand, I see. I don't know how he done that, because he got some runs, obviously, after the Matthews incident. He got some runs when they batted. He's out. And then I'm looking down Sri Lanka tomorrow against New Zealand. I expect the Kiwis to win. So really now, there's probably just a couple of games there. You've got New Zealand game and then England-Pakistan. All the others are pretty much dead rubbers, aren't they, as we look towards the semis? Yeah. So I think it's next Wednesday, Thursday, the semi-finals, isn't it? I was looking.
I'll take a word for that one. I have to look it up.
And then obviously the finals on the Sunday. But any other business before we close, mate?
No.
What's your thoughts? Do you think you could, if you played India in the World Cup final, do you think you could turn them over?
Oh, look, we could. We've got the ability there, but I wouldn't expect it. If we went into the final, India-Australia, you'd be putting your mortgage on India. Australia's certainly got the ability to do it. There's no doubt about that. And you'd never write them off. But I think India just, if one person falls over, they've got enough certainly with their batting, and their bowling's just consistent. They've got the best bowling lineup, I think, for their five.
I'd like to see a Travis Head, sort of how they react if he gets after Boomer a little bit early and he can get a few away. And you have to go back to the game when you played him in the group stages. I know he only scored about, 190, I think. You had him 2 for 3. We all see the catch that Mitchell Marsh dropped from Kohli, which I think would have been 20 for 4. I'd just like to see someone put a little bit of pressure on India, like in both aspects, with the bat. Have a go at them. Don't let them just bowl to you. And then with the ball, if you can knock Gill, and I think Rohit Sharma's had a great World Cup. I think the game against South Africa the other day, I know he only scored about 40 odd, but they had 90. I think they were 91 for 1 off the power play, and that sort of set them up for that. If you can maybe knock a couple over early, like you did in your game in the groups, puts a little bit of pressure on their middle order. And if you can get at Kohli early, you've got Rahul in there. And I think they've got a tail, Kieran, because I think obviously now with Pandya's out of the World Cup, he's out. They've got a bit of a tail starting at 8. So if you could get some early wickets, that's going to obviously nullify what they can do later on in the innings. If you can keep nicking a wicket here and there, I still think India, they're the best team in the tournament. But when you get to semis and when you get to the final, there's a little bit more pressure there. There's probably masses of pressure on them as the home team.
Yeah,
I think if you look at an Indian game, I think nearly everybody in them stadiums, Kieran, have got a blue shirt on. It's either got Kohli on or it's got Rohit on.
Yeah. No, there will be pressure being the home side. Mitch Marsh, I think, will be back for the semis. I think he said he'll be back in time for those. Cameron Green made runs the other day, and Labuschagne, so it'll be interesting if Marsh comes in for.
So Marsh was in when he played against Afghanistan, didn't he?
Did he? He's back already.
Yeah, because Smith missed out. He got vertigo, didn't he? He missed that game. So who comes back in? Does Smith come back in? And if he comes back in, who drops out?
It's tough now because Smith will come back in. Marsh obviously made that 100 earlier on in the tournament, but I think he's only averaging now about 30 odd for the tournament, so he's got that 100 and then not much else. Green made runs. I like Green as a bowler. I'm not convinced with his batting yet. And Marsh is more of a batting all-rounder, Green more of a bowling all-rounder. So for me, it's probably a toss of the coin between those two. I wouldn't take 2 all-rounders in. 3 if you've got Stoinis in there. So
Stoinis was in the other day when he played and got some. Got runs against us.
I guess it just depends where you think you're going to require an extra bat or extra bowl. I guess possibly conditions will come into that, or whether you decide you're going to go after them with the batting and try and put a 350 plus score on, or whether you're going to try to contain them and chase them down.
Yeah, I think if you play in South Africa, obviously, I think they like to bat first, don't they? They like to put up a big score, and we've seen a couple of times. Obviously, they fell over against the Netherlands, almost slipped up against Pakistan, and I think with them, it will be in the back of their mind, Kieran, when you play them in a semi-final. We've also seen what's happened before. We all remember, I think, was it 99 back in England when obviously the run out of Klusner. It's always in the back of your mind that South Africa are going to choke. So I think the Aussies can use that as a positive for them going forward when they play them. Yeah.
At that stage of the tournament, any little sort of mind games, I guess, can help. I still think South Africa just so dangerous with the bat. I don't think their bowling's their strong point. If you can hold them to sort of maybe 280, less than 280, I think you're in with a big shot, because I think you can get it after their bowling. But like they've put 3 or 4 360 plus scores. I think their batting's their trump card, and that's where they'll win it.
I think De Kock's obviously got 400s. I watched them, and they're not worried about the power play if they don't go too hard, because they know that middle order. If you can keep the wickets in hand, if you're going into that last 15, 20 overs and you're 170 for 2 or 3, with the power they've got, they can easily strike at 8s, 9s and 10s and over, can't they, going in to the back end of the innings?
Yeah, absolutely. I was watching when England played South Africa. They're what's his Reza in the middle order, and Wood was bowling short to him. He's bowling. It was still clocking up around 150, and Reza was hitting him through mid wicket like he's bowling 120. I've messaged you. I said I don't think I've ever seen anybody face Wood and look like they've got as much time as what he did. Granted, the pitches probably aren't as quick as what they were in the Ashes or elsewhere, but he looked classy in that middle order.
So quickly before we go, we'll have a look at the leading run scorers. So you got Quinton de Kock 550, Kohli 543, Ravindra, we spoke about him earlier. Kieran, he's got 523. Dave Warner, fourth on the list, 446, and then you got Sharma 442, and then you go down to the leading wicket takers. Madhushanka for Sri Lanka, the left armour, he's got 21. Zampa 20, Marco Jansen for South Africa 17, and then you got Shine Afridi and Mohammed Shami, who's got absolutely ridiculous figures in World Cup cricket. I think he's got about 50 wickets in the last 3 tournaments. He wasn't even in his team to start with, which I've seen that a little bit bizarre, really, Kieran. When you think when he comes on, he just looks every time he's going to get a wicket, doesn't he?
Yeah. No, he's classy.
That is us done. Thank you very much, mate, for coming on and jumping on the show. Really appreciate it.
That's all right, my pleasure.
If you're watching, stick with us. We are back in 13 minutes, Talking Town, as we look back on Ipswich 2, Rotherham 2 from last night. We will be back next week. I'd probably say back on the Tuesday show. We'll be looking ahead to the semi-finals, and we'll probably have a little bit more chat about England, Kieran, because we need to dissect it even more after. Afraid we're out of time. We will see you all next week.
See you, mate.